Schools of philosophy in the Islamic world. Naturalism. Natural philosophers like Thales, Anaximenes, Anaximandros and Heraclitus, who lived in the 6th century BC, explored the basic building blocks of the universe. These thinkers, who believed that matter was alive, hylozoism, argued that the origin of existence was earth, air, fire and water, and that the material world was formed by the interaction of their contrasting properties, such as coldness, heat, wetness and dryness. Some Islamic thinkers were called tabiiyyun, naturalists, because they adopted this idea. There are different factors that have influenced the emergence of understandings and approaches to nature in the Islamic world. As mentioned earlier, many verses in the Holy Quran draw attention to living and non-living beings in the universe as a manifestation of Allah's power and magnificence, and we are strongly advised and guided to reflect on them and understand the mysteries in the universe. For example, let man consider why he was created. Surat At-Tariq 86:5. Do they not look at the camels, how they are created, and at the sky, how it is raised, and at the mountains, how they are fixed firm, and at the earth, how it is spread out? Surat Al-Khashiyah 88:17-20 are sufficient to remember. The Prophet's recommendations in the same direction encouraged believers to think and research, and led to the start of extensive research in the field of natural sciences in Islamic society. Indeed, the famous thinker Câhiz, inspired by the fact that some surahs in the Holy Quran are named after animals such as cows, bees, ants, spiders and elephants, wrote a book called Kitâbü'l-Hayevân, which means Book of Animals. On the other hand, it is clear that translations from Euclid, Ptolemy, Hippocrates, Galen and Aristotle played an important role in the development of this understanding of nature. With the influence of such preparatory stages, people emerged who adopted a different approach to questions such as what the field of nature is, whether there is a connection between living and non-living beings, and what the power and workings behind it are. These people, who tried to theoretically explain and substantiate all kinds of formations, changes and developments in the field of natural beings, are considered leading names in scientific fields such as medicine, chemistry, astronomy and mathematics. According to Al-Ghazali, it is possible to group philosophers into three categories: materialists, deists and theists. Natural philosophers, who constitute the second group, studied nature with the meticulousness of a scientist, saw the unique creativity of Allah and the wonder of His work by examining the anatomy of animals, and had to accept the existence of Allah as the creator of the universe. However, these because they considered the human soul to be a part of its material existence, and argued that the soul would disappear with death. This situation resulted in their denial of the existence of the afterlife and the institution of prophethood, which informs this truth. Natural philosophers, because they tended to reduce all physical and metaphysical realities to matter, are sense-based in terms of the source of knowledge, inductive in terms of method, and exhibit a realist attitude in ontology. It is known that the first thinker and scientist in the Islamic world to be referred to as a natural philosopher was Jabir ibn Hayyan. Although Jabir's work spanned many fields such as medicine, astronomy, mathematics and philosophy, he is primarily known as a chemist. The natural philosophy he represents is based on the understanding of the microcosm, macrocosm, and the influence of celestial powers on earthly events. In addition, his insistence on the numerical dimension of the universe and his emphasis on measurement and experimentation in the understanding of knowledge are a reflection of the Pythagorean system, in which the fundamental principle in the universe is number, in his natural philosophy. Among the degrees of existence, which are listed as minerals, plants and animals in nature, the level of minerals has a special place in Jabir's works. The treatment of minerals, not only in terms of their formation, but also in terms of their transformations, constitutes the focus of his chemical studies. Later, Al-Kindi's work in fields such as philosophy, mathematics, astronomy, optics, meteorology, psychology, ethics, chemistry and music, and his writing of many works in the field of natural sciences encouraged later generations. There is no doubt that the scholar who most deserves the title of natural philosopher in Islamic thought is Abu Bakr Muhammad ibn Zakaria al-Razi. The philosopher, who tried to establish a deist worldview inspired by Plato's philosophy in the tolerant environment of the time he lived in, was criticized by both contemporary and later philosophers and theologians for claiming that there was no need for religion and the guidance of a prophet in reaching the truth, and was accused of atheism and heresy. Some also accused him of deviating from Aristotle's philosophy on the one hand and adopting the views of pre-Socratic naturalists on the other. Al-Razi's views on natural philosophy indicate that he belongs to the group that accepts the existence of a knowledgeable creator in Al-Ghazali's classification of natural philosophers. Al-Razi, a complete rationalist who used observation, experimentation, and the inductive method in his studies, stands out not only for his achievements in the fields of medicine and chemistry, but also for his atomist views, which point to the typical features of traditional natural philosophy. In contrast to the static understanding of matter in the Mu'tazilite philosophy, Al-Razi argued that matter, by its very nature, has the power to move dynamically. He is also a typical naturalist because he advocates the transmigration of souls, metempsychosis. He differs from pure materialists because he believes in the immortality of the soul, and from theologians because he accepts metempsychosis. Although the philosopher, who interprets the formation and functioning of the universe with a system he calls the five eternal principles, claims that this is his own original system, there are serious criticisms that he took the idea of these eternal principles, which he lists as Allah, the essence of the universe, the first matter, absolute time and absolute space, from pre-Socratic natural philosophers such as Pythagoras, Empedocles and Democritus, and that he based his own thought on these views. Unlike the Tabiiyya, natural philosophers in Islamic philosophy do not deny the existence of a creator. The aim of these philosophers is to create a metaphysics based on nature. What is important for them is to use experimentation and inductive reasoning in explaining existence. Although they accept the existence of Allah as the creator of the universe, they have not been willing to accept prophethood and religion. One of the schools in Islamic philosophy is naturalism, which may seem strange to be discussed within the framework of Islamic thought, because although natural philosophers accepted the existence of Allah as a creative power, they argued that his relationship with the universe and humanity was not continuous and active. That is, they advocated deism. It is possible to talk about different schools of philosophy, the third trend of Islamic thought, as in kalam, and even subgroups or factions within schools. From this point of view, the schools discussed under the heading of Islamic philosophy are Tabiiyya, naturalism, peripateticism, brethren of purity, and illuminationism, as well as independent thinkers and scientists who cannot be easily included in any of these. The subject of this section is the naturalism school, which adopted a materialist and deist understanding in the history of Islamic thought. It is natural that these schools, which together with the Tabiiyya, did not have a traditional and influential position in the history of Islamic thought, have commonalities with their counterparts in other cultural environments, as well as differences related to their emergence in the Islamic cultural environment, which makes it possible to consider both schools within the scope of Islamic thought.